guys, this is Brevort, and today the first pre-release for 1.21.2 has been released. And in 1.21.2, bundles have been taken out of experimental finally, and they now have the ability to be dyed. Now, it's not like leather armor where you can make it any color you want, essentially, but it is like wool where there's the 16 like regular colors. Salmons now have different size variants, so you can see here's a large one, a small one, and a medium one here. As well as squids now have a baby variant, and glow squids as well. Okay, well there's a baby one. For some reason a bunch of them were normal ones, and dolphins also have a baby variant. The banner patterns now have unique textures so you can more easily tell them apart. And you also notice here that we have two new banner patterns which weren't in Java Edition previously. We have the field mason one, which is the brick pattern, and we have the board here, which is the one that you make with vines. You can make both of these patterns in the crafting table using bricks and vines respectively. Mob spawners now have their own unique breaking and placing sounds, as well as step sounds and mining sounds. The mace now has its own unique death message, which is entity was smashed by entity. And there is a new attribute, which is mob temp range, which means you can make it so mobs detect you from further away, which I think is pretty cool because look how far away that sheep is detecting me from. That's actually really crazy and really cool that you are able to do that. There's a new tag for TNT minecarts, which is explosion power. If we go ahead and spawn a TNT minecart in, it has the default of 4, but we can go ahead and spawn a minecart with a much larger explosion power, and it really interestingly makes a square-shaped explosion. I wasn't really expecting that. So there's a new rotate command, which is really cool because it allows you to change where entities are facing. So for example, we can make this villager face towards world spawn, or we can make the villager face towards me. But more interestingly, we can actually make it so players are facing a different direction. So we can basically tell players where they need to go. So if we want to go towards world spawn, we know that it is now this way. We could just fly in that direction. Bee nests and beehives will now show the amount of bees and the amount of honey in them when you are when they're in your inventory. So that's really cool. And the model of redstone torches has been changed, which also means that the model of comparators and repeaters have the new texture for redstone torches. They look very technical now. Tamed wolves can now be fed fish in order to breed them or to heal them. Wearing a carved pumpkin makes it so your indicator icon doesn't show up for other players on maps. However, it does not hide your own indicator icon from yourself. And ender pearls will now chunk load a 3x3 area around them. So if we go ahead and put some items in our blast furnace and we teleport ourselves away, and then we wait a little bit here, and then we teleport ourselves back, we will see that it went and smelted some items, which it normally wouldn't have done because we would have been too far away for it to have been ticked. Previously, splash potions when thrown at the feet would apply a shorter duration, although now it seems to apply the same duration as if it's hit directly on the head. And the empty chests in trial chambers have been replaced with hoppers going into a barrel, so it's a little bit more obvious that it's not for loot, but it's for you to deposit your garbage in. The armor trims have been renamed so that their base name now shows up as which armor trim they are, and the smithing template is now a subtitle of that, as well as the rarity of a lot of items have been changed. I'm not going to go over the full list, but for example, golden apples are now common, pottery shards are now uncommon, enchanted golden apples are now rare, they used to be epic, and the silence armor trim in particular is now epic. Bees have now had their AI improved, and the interaction with projectiles hitting the world border has been changed. You can see that arrow just bounced off, and throwing an ender pearl will cause it to smack into it instead of leaving the world border. So all of these changes so far have been in the snapshots for 1.21.2, but now we're getting into the actual changes in the pre-release. And as you can see, the texture for a popped air bubble is now, well, it now has a texture. And it also makes a sound when the bubbles pop. Additionally, the data pack version is now 57 and the resource pack version is now 41. Anyways, if you're enjoying the video so far, make sure to leave a like as it helps support the channel, and hit the subscribe button as only about 1.5% of you guys are actually subscribed. So let's try to get that number up. Alright, let's get back to the video. There are 3 new experiments that you can enable upon creating a new world. One of them is the Redstone Experiment, which you can see here. We have a block update sensor. Any update to this, including a repeater, which isn't even facing into this, will cause this to fire. Removing or placing blocks by it will also cause it to fire. However, updating redstone by it no longer will, because redstone has been optimized so it doesn't update things nearby. This was not a very well received change, however, so I'm not sure it's going to make it into the base game. However, a change that was well received is the minecart improvements. So here we have a minecart traveling at the normal 8 blocks per second. You saw when it left the track, it kind of slanted there. Let's see if we could see that again. That is a new thing that minecarts will do. And we can also make it so with the game rule, minecart max speed. Why is it what it is? Also, that just updated for some reason. I think the the grass turned to dirt underneath it. We can make this something really crazy, like 100 blocks per second now. So if we do this, it's just gonna, well, you didn't really notice it because it didn't have as much time to get to max speed, but you saw it went all the way to the end, whereas before it did not do that. If we go ahead and make the track longer, though, then we will see that the actual speed of the minecart is much faster. You can see it just zooms along the track right there. It even went over the powered rail that wasn't turned on. Additionally, under accessibility settings, there's a new feature, Rotate with Minecarts. If you go ahead and get in a minecart and ride it, I'm not touching my mouse, but the minecart will automatically rotate my screen when it goes around a curve, which is really cool. The only issue with it is if you bounce, it does not rotate you, which I think it should. And the final experimental pack is the Pale Garden Winter Drop Pack, which includes pale moss blocks, pale wood, pale leaves, all the things that you find in the pale forest biome here, which you'll tend to find near birch forests and roofed forests based on, or dark forests, I guess they're called, based on what I can tell. They seem to generate in areas where the humidity value is 4, the temperature is 2, and the PV is high. I think it might also only generate in positive weirdness, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So that's when this value is greater than 0. And as you likely already know, there's a new mob in this forest. I'm not sure this is a big enough area for any to have spawned, because it's a pretty small forest. But there we go. Okay, there's one right there. This is the creaking, which you cannot middle click to get the spawn egg for some reason. Must be a bug. But it basically works in a way that if you go in survival mode, if you look at it, it can't move. But if you're not looking at it, as soon as it leaves your screen, it is able to move and damage you. And it is immune to damage, but when you hit it, you can see where the creaking heart, which is the block that that is used to spawn it, you can see where that is located, and you can destroy it or silk touch it, whatever you want to do. And here is the creaking heart block. The way this works is it has to be surrounded by pale logs. As you can see, placing it down there allows it to spawn another creaking. Additionally, there's a couple weird quirks with this. Since you can't kill the creaking just by meleeing it, you have to destroy the heart, and that is what gives you the monsters hunted advancement for killing it. Additionally, this also works with a comparator. So if we go ahead and time set night, one will spawn in, and you'll see that the comparator is now lit up. Also, there are way more around me than I thought there would be. Also, because the terrain is so hilly, it does kind of pose a hazard in this biome. So it's not the creaking you need to look out for, because they only do a little bit of damage, like 1 heart. But it's more of the terrain that you need to be on the lookout for, and the other mobs in the biome. Anyways, guys, that is about it for this one. I'll see you in the next one. Have yourselves an amazing day, and goodbye.